Hi besties! Are you guys ready for a new pattern? This is the Daycation bag. In addition to the Daycation strap, you can either sew it with the Daycation strap or just a regular strap. That's totally up to you. In this instruction, we will sew the Daycation bag together, and we will also make a regular crossbody strap. If you're interested in the Daycation strap, you can get this on my Patreon account, or later on when it's available for everybody. You can also buy this on my Etsy, but right now it's just available on Patreon to my bag makers. So, shall we have a look at the Daycation bag? It's a small crossbody strap, and I will show you every detail right now. So this is the Daycation bag, a small crossbody bag, and it's kind of a cute little bag for everyday essentials. We have a flap in the front for a slip pocket, an add-on slip pocket. You can fit your cell phone in there without a problem. The specialty about is these small little darts. We attached the D-rings to the gusset for the strap. And on the interior, you also find a small slip pocket as well. And on the back, we do have an extra zipper pocket, because I know how you guys love extra zippers on the back panels. So I made this one specially for you guys. Like I said, this comes with an instruction for a regular strap, but you could also make the Daycation strap with it. Let's have a look on how to prepare our pattern and the fabrics. So when you print out your pattern pieces, make sure you check the box that the measurements are correct. And I also suggest you to print out 2 copies, especially for the front and back panel, because one will be for the fabrics. So you use the outer lines to cut out the piece. And when you cut out the second version, cut on the dotted lines to create a template. This will be for the Daycation and the Pelon Thermalon or H630. So cut the rectangle on this piece to create a hole for the back zipper. So we will need this rectangle hole for the back piece and not for the front, but I will show you this in detail in a moment. You also have a printout chart and a template. The template is supposed to be to give you a guide, an orientation on where to attach the front pocket. So these are the fabrics and materials that I've used. I've used water-resistant canvas and fall leather for the exterior. Any non-stretchy fabrics are perfect for this. And for the interior, I've used this light cotton, quilting cotton. I've used the G700 for all my lining pieces. I used it for all my lining pieces, and the H250 for the slip pocket on the interior. And for the exterior, I've used the Daycation and a Pelon Thermalon, or you can use the H630 if you don't have it. They're quite similar. The Thermalon is a little bit, I don't know how to say this, it's a bit thicker. It's not really thicker, but it's firmer, let's say like that. We do need some bias for binding the interior. It needs to be cut on a 45-degree angle. We need some endless zipper tape, some zipper pulls, of course, 3 to be exact. We need a slider and swivel hooks for the strap, 2 D-rings to attach the strap to our bag, and we also need 2 magnets. I know most of you use 14 millimeters. This is 10 millimeter magnet. It's a cute tiny one, and I really prefer them, but I know that many of you guys have bigger ones. Of course you can use them too. I've used 1 centimeter wide, 10 millimeter wide magnets. So there you see all the pattern pieces in detail. This is the bottom and this is the zipper. For the zipper, I did not fuse Thermolan here because we don't need volume on this tiny piece. This is the interior for the back zipper. We do have this piece. One set is for the flap. I fused it with Thermolan and Decofill, and one with H250. This will be the interior slip pocket. We also have this piece right here with the this will be the front pocket. See, I've used Decofill light and then the Pellon on top, and we have the front and the back. And as you can see, the front doesn't have the hole right here on the interfacing, and the back piece does, because we will attach the zipper, and it's much easier like this. Okay, see, if you put this on the non-sticky side, it will be on the correct side, the zipper. Because if you flip it around, the zipper will be on the left of your fabric. It's on the right if it's the non-sticky side. And if you turn it, it's on the right side. You see? Okay, let's start with the front. So we need the front pocket. It's important that you do not cut out the squares on the bottom, just cut it out for the interfacings. So I start with the magnets, the magnetic snaps. I will use the points on the pattern piece to make my markings, and then you can attach the female part of your magnets right there, just to make sure that it's understandable on what I mean. You do cut out the fabrics in whole, one piece without the square boxes. And the Decofill and the Thermolan will be cut without seam allowance and without the boxes. You can use the this as a template to make the markings on the wrong sides of your main and lining fabric, or you can simply just make a 1 inch box or 2.5 centimeter box on the bottom of your front pocket. So now it's time to install the female parts of the magnetic snaps. So I use the template, the little metal thing, as a template to make my markings, and then take a seam ripper and make 2 cuts on each magnet. And we will attach them to the main fabric piece, not the lining piece. The main fabric piece, and secure them with some Decofill light or some duct tape on top. It's just to protect the lining fabrics. So here I just fuse some Decofill light on top. Now it's time to sew the rectangular boxes. So like I said, do not cut them. We will fold it like this and just make sure that the lines are on top of each other. And then we will sew this line on both of the boxes, on the lining fabric first, and then on the main fabric as well. So take some clips to secure it and make sure the lines are on top of each other, and then sew this line. There you go. This is sewn together, and then I trim off the seam allowance a little bit, and then repeat this with the main fabric. See here, I open up the seam allowance because it will be less bulky if we sew the pieces together. Sew the pieces together. So I repeat this with the main fabric. It's a bit tougher because it's stiff with the interfacing. And when it's sewn together, I also trim the seam allowance. Why do I say the seam allowance? It's the seam allowance, Sarah. Okay, now we will put both pieces right sides together and sew them together as well. Make sure that the boxes are the darts. I don't know what is. It's not really the classical dart, right? Just they should be on top of each other, and you can fold them open so it's less bulky. And we will sew these 2 pieces together with 1 centimeter seam allowance, 3/8 inch, and we will leave an opening here at the top. And it's easier if you baste it together first, but if you don't, it's totally fine. See here, I basted them together, and this is the right seam with the right seam allowance. So trim off the corners on the top, and also trim the curved section with some pinking shears, because it will form out a little bit more easy like that. So when you've trimmed the seam allowance, you can turn this right side out. You can give it a press if it's material that you can press, and just make sure that everything's formed out nicely. You can use a tool for that. I prefer my chopstick. It's been there forever, guys. And then I fold the edges too, and making sure that the seam is fully folded right side out. And then you fold the seam allowance from the opening towards the inside and secure this with some clips, and then top stitch. So when you've top stitched, you can see the opening is closed nicely, and then you also mark the center on the bottom just with a marker or some chalk, whatever you prefer. And now we will make the flap. So now we need to install the male parts from the magnetic snaps. Make sure you take the right piece. We don't take the one with the H250. We will take the one with Decophyllite and Pellon. And this time we won't insert the magnetic snap on the main fabric. We will install them on the lining fabric pieces. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take some Decophyllite because I think the lining fabric is a bit more sensitive and thin. So it's better to install them on an interfaced fabric. And then I will fuse some Decophyllite on top as well to protect my fabrics from the prongs. And now we basically do the same thing. We put these two fabric pieces right sides together and sew them together with 1 centimeter 3/8 inch seam allowance, and we will leave an opening at the top again. This is just a bit smaller, but it's manageable. If it's too hard to turn your fabrics, like if you make this from faux leather, I suggest you to leave the whole top open and fold the interfacing towards the inside later, because it's easier to turn. Since this is a thin fabric, I can sew the edges too. Then again, I will take my chopstick and form out all the curves and the corners on top. Fold the seam allowance towards the inside, but this time I won't top stitch it because I will top stitch this on the fabric. I will simply top stitch the side and the bottom, not the top. Give it a press if you can after turning, and top stitch the side and the bottom. So now we will attach this to the front. So make sure you take the front piece, not the back piece. The back piece is the one with the hole. We will take the one with without the hole, and we'll make a marking 4.5 centimeters 1/3 inch from the top. But you also find this marking on the pattern piece just to make sure. I use some masking tape because it's really handy if you want to make markings on your pieces. So I attach it 4.5 centimeters from the top, 1/3 inch, and then I will make a marking for the center. And we will line up our flap to the center. See, we mark the center here too. I just make a fold and then place the fold on the middle marking. And then we will base this, we will sew this on our front like a rectangle. And like this, we are closing the opening. So now it's time to attach the front pocket, which is, I think, the only tricky thing about this pattern. So place the template 1.5 centimeter from the bottom, which is 3/4 inches. So I make a marking right there. And I will mark the center. And then you can place your template on the center, on the bottom line, and draw the lines on the sides. Line up the bottom centers and attach it with a pin so it will stay there. And then definitely check if this pocket sits right and if the flap closes correctly. So I just figured my pocket needs to be a tiny bit more up because the flap was maybe attached a bit too high for me. So I've decided to move this one up like less than a centimeter. I'm not sure. I think now it's 2 centimeters from the bottom. I line up the centers again and close the flap. So I really suggest you to close the flap and see if you like the way the flap closes. And then I will take some long clips to secure my front pocket, and then I will baste it on the front. And this is how I do it. I just align the side edge of my front pocket with the line that I've just drawn on my front and work my way around this like really slow, especially here on the dart. So I'll show you how I do it. I move as far as I can to the dart and fold it forward until I'm on the dart on the center. Then I fold it backwards so it's not in my way. And again, this is the tricky part. Take your time for this. Make sure everything's flat and make sure everything's straight. And the line that you drawn on your front is still aligned to your outside edge of the front pocket. So on the other dart, it's basically the same. Just fold it to the front until you're almost at the center, or best thing if you're at the center. And then fold it out of the way to the other side, and then make sure the side is still aligned to the line that you've drawn. Put something behind the zipper if you need like a bumper. I always forget the English word. I'm so sorry. And then keep on sewing and make sure it's aligned to your marking. Don't forget to lock your stitches at the end and at the beginning, of course. And ta-da, that was the tricky part. So you done like the hardest part of the bag. Like for me, I don't know what's for you. If you think something else is more trickier, tell me, let me know. I'm always curious to see what's the most hardest thing about bag sewing. So then I pinch my fabric, my front pocket, and form it out a little bit, fold it so it stays in the right place, like how I want it to be. And then see again if the magnetic snaps are closing correctly, and if you like the fit, trim off any extra thread. And yeah, your front is almost done. The only thing that's missing is the lining piece. So take the lining piece, place it wrong sides together, and baste the two pieces together. And that's it for the front. So let's move on to the back. So for the back, we will have this zipper compartment. So place this fabric right side up and check where the hole is. I lined it up with the line here on my cutting mat. And then I will place this centered right sides together with the zipper facing. Make sure it's centered. You could also make a drawing there, like draw a line and take a pin and pinch through the line and see if it fits right if you're not sure. And then we will sew the rectangle. See, we have this right sides together, and we've sewn the rectangle. Now we will cut the center line and two little V's. Make sure you don't hurt any seam. You cut right in the middle, not all the way to the end, because we will do this with our V as close into the corner as possible. But don't hurt your seam. Don't cut into the seam. So when you're done with this, push your lining fabric through the hole and press it. I really suggest you to press it. Form out the edge because we don't want too much lining fabric sticking out of the front. But also that's on how you like it. See, this is what it looks like when it's pressed. And now we will take care of the zipper. So you take the two lining pieces and take a 20 centimeter or 8-inch long piece of endless zipper and thread a pull onto the zipper. So when the zipper is attached, the pull is attached, you place this both being right sides up, okay? The lining is right side up and the zipper, and you will attach the other side of the zipper to the other lining piece in the same way. Both pieces are right sides up. I know you used to do this in a different way, but we will do this both being right sides up, and sew this with 7mm seam allowance, a 1/4 inch seam allowance. So finger fold the fabric away from the zipper, place it in front of you, and make sure it's closing towards the top. It's closing towards the top. And then you put your back piece on top and align the zipper facing and the lining pieces, and then stitch a rectangle around the zipper. This is what it looks like when the rectangle is sewn. And flip your piece over. You can trim off extra zipper tape on the side, and then fold your lining pieces right sides together, and also trim the extra lining piece on the bottom, or on the, no, it's not the bottom, it's the right side. It's the right side of the piece. And then we will sew together the sides and the top and front side. We will sew this together with 1 centimeter seam allowance, just like this, like a C a C shape. So now our zipper pocket is closed. Check if everything's correct. And then we will take care of the lining piece. So this is the second set from the pattern piece C. I put the lining in the main fabric. Of course, you can also take 2 lining pieces for this, but I just like to have like this outside fabric also on the inside of the bag, but that's personal preference. So I sew this together, right sides together, with 1 centimeter 3/8 inch seam allowance. I trim the corners and the curves, turn the piece right side out, and give it a press. Don't forget to form out the curves and the top corners, and fold the seam allowance from the opening towards the middle. Just like that. Then you press it and give it a top stitch as well. It's also a nice place to insert a label. I always do this on my interior. See, Zazu label, that's my bag shop. And then you place it on the lining piece, centered and 3 centimeters from the bottom, 1/4 inch, and you baste the side and the bottom. Leave the top open, of course, otherwise we can't put something in there. And then you place these 2 pieces wrong sides together and baste them together within seam allowance. Make sure the top is at the top and the bottom is at the bottom. Just like that. So this is the back. The back of the bag. Now it's time for the gusset piece. So we will need the bottom, and we will need the gusset zipper pieces, main and lining. And we also need an endless zipper, 28 centimeters, which is 11 inch. I use 2 zipper pulls. Insert your zipper pulls, 1 from each side. And then place your zipper right sides together on the main fabric pieces, which I just interfaced with Decofil Light. And then place the lining piece on top, like a sandwich. So the fabrics are right sides together and the zipper is in between. Then sew this together with 7mm seam allowance, 3/8 inch. Fold the fabrics away from the zipper and top stitch. And then we will repeat the same thing with the other piece from the zipper. Gusset zipper pieces. Put the zipper and the main fabric right sides together. Put the lining piece on top, right side down, and sew with 7mm 1/4 inch seam allowance. Fold fabrics away from the zipper and top stitch. Now you can trim off any extra zipper. And don't forget your D-rings, because we will attach the D-rings now. Therefore, we will need the tab, the D-ring tab, and make a marking in the center and fold the outer edges towards the center and top stitch. I'm sure you've done this like 100 times, but I always do this in like one step. Just I cut one longer piece for 2 tabs, and then I will make this piece into 2 tabs for the D-rings. See, this is top stitched, so cut it in half. One piece is for 1 D-ring, so you thread on the D-ring and baste them together the ends, the short ends, are on top of each other, and you will just baste it together. Place it on the zipper. It's just the center because the zipper is in the center and we want the D-rings to be in the center. I'll place it on top and baste it together with a few stitches so everything stays in place, just like that. Now we will take the bottom, the main bottom piece, and put the short edge right sides together. And then we will take the lining piece from the gusset bottom gusset, and put the lining pieces right sides together. So the lining from the zipper and the lining from the bottom is right sides together, and we will sew the short edge with 1 centimeter 3/8 inch seam allowance. And then fold the fabric wrong sides together and top stitch. I will top stitch on the bottom piece. And now we will repeat this to the other side. The main fabrics are right sides together and the lining fabrics are right sides together as well. And we will sew this with 1 centimeter 3/8 inch seam allowance. So when this is done, fold this right side out and top stitch on the bottom piece as well. So the next step, I'm going to show you how I prefer doing my binding. It's just a tip. It's just a way of, I guess there are like 100 ways of doing binding. This is just personal preference, but maybe you like this too, and it's helpful for your sewing journey. So I will take my bias tape that I cut previously on a 45-degree angle, and I will place this on the lining of my gusset piece. So the lining is right sides together, and I will fold this like a triangle, the beginning, and I will baste it on, attach it to the gusset ring in one total piece. So it's within seam allowance and it's overlapping. You see the triangle on the bottom overlapping, so a little bit further and trim off any extra bias tape, and repeat this to the other side of the gusset as well. So like this, your bias is already attached and will be sewn into your bag automatically, and later on you just need to fold it up and fold it over and then close it. And this was a game changer for me. I really prefer this. So I've attached this within seam allowance. It's overlapping. The beginning is like a rectangle, and yes, try it. Maybe next time you do like it too. So when the bias is attached, I will mark my top and bottom centers on the gusset piece, as well as on the front and the back. You can do this with snips, with markers, with chalk. If I have fabric that's cool with making snips and not fraying too much, this is my preferred way of marking, making snips. And now for the next part, final assembly. I will start with the front. I usually do attach the gusset to the more bulky piece first. In this case, it doesn't really matter, but I prefer doing the front. So I mark my bottom and top centers. And then I will start with the front. I will put the gusset ring, I will open up the zipper, and I will put it wrong side being out. So it's easier to align the bottom and the front markings first. So the main fabrics are right sides together. And then I will make small snips into the gusset where the curves are. So I really suggest you to do this because it's way easier. And my patterns are designed to have like a tight gusset because I like a tight fit. I don't want wrinkles in my gusset pieces. So it's a tight gusset. Can you say it like that? And then when you made those snips, you can attach the whole gusset to the front. Make sure that the top is where the zipper is and the bottom of the front is where the bottom of the gusset is. Otherwise, you have a problem. Attach clips Make sure the fit is right. I said it's rather tight than too big. And then baste the two pieces together. I really suggest you to baste the pieces together first. So this is how I do it. I use a very wide stitch for basting. The front piece is on the bottom of my machine, and the gusset is on top, but I know some people like to do this the other way around. I guess this is just personal preference, whatever makes you feel more comfortable. But basting it together makes it a lot easier. See, I push the gusset towards the inside when I'm at the curve. Like, I put my foot up and make sure I don't have any wrinkles. So here's the beginning of the basting stitch. So I will move my needle closer to the inside and then sew with the correct seam allowance of 7 millimeters, which is a 1/4 inch. Make sure to make your stitches smaller again because the basting stitch was so wide. And here, put the foot up, press the gusset down so you don't have any wrinkles as far as possible. Again, put the foot up, press the gusset down so you don't have any wrinkles, like you're pushing it to the back, and work your way around the curve like that. And then go along with the correct seam allowance. I've made this quicker, so don't worry, I'm not sewing this quick, especially in the corners or in the curves. I take my time for that. And then you work your way around the whole piece, always pushing the gusset, the curve of the gusset out of the way, because we want to avoid any wrinkles and folds, and we want a clean, nice finish. So when you get to the beginning, you see where the thread is, where we started our rounds. Don't forget to lock your stitch. And then let's take you to the, you see this is the basting stitch on the outside, and this is the correct stitch, the final stitch with the correct seam allowance. So since we've attached already our bias tape to the gusset, before we put the pieces together, you can simply pull up the bias tape and then fold it towards the open edge and then fold over again. Like this. I fold it towards the open edge and fold over, hiding all of the raw edges like that. And since it's cut on a 45-degree angle, it should lay flat in the curves really nicely. If you just cut like a straight piece of strip of fabric, it will look not as clean and good on the curves. So this is where the overlap is. I usually do this at the end and just hide everything I don't want to see. So I fold this the same way, just a bit tighter maybe, and then fold over the upper bias tape. Make sure everything's covered. And then I would simply secure my bias with stitches from my sewing machine. Like this. I put this like this and then sew it. It's a nice clean look, right? And we will repeat the same procedure with the back. We start at the top. We align the bottom markings. We will make some snips in the gusset piece where the curves are. Attach our clips to the whole piece. Baste together the two pieces first and then sew with the correct seam allowance, which is 7 millimeters, 1/4 inch. And then we will close the bias the same way. And now for the best moment, we have to turn our bag right side out. I love, 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 love this moment because you get to see your product for the first time, like the final look. And it's just exciting. I usually walk around in my room doing this. It's really hard for me to do this under the camera. And I bite my lips sometimes when I do this. So check everything. Check if the look is nice, if you got all the, you have all the open edges, everything's closed correctly, the flap is closing, and clean your markings off if you still have some chalk on there. And yes, just admire what you did, because you did this with your own 2 hands. And I would love to say that we're done now, but you know me. There's one piece missing, right? Exactly. We have to do a strap. And this is how I do the regular strap. So I use my faux leather that I used for the bottom and the whole gusset basically. And the hardware you will need for the strap depends on how wide you want your strap to be. So I've made a 2 centimeter wide strap on this bag. So you cut out the strap. You could also take the cutting chart. You find the measurements on there. But I usually take the full width. I want my strap to be as long as possible. I mark the center line and I will fold the raw edges towards the center. And then make another fold that you have 4 layers of fabric. See? Fold towards the middle, fold up again, and secure everything with your clips. Of course, you can do a wider strap, a smaller strap. Like I said, it just depends on your hardware. If you have swivel hooks, your fabric should be 4 times as wide as your hardware. So when you folded everything together, you just top stitch on both edges. And I always trim off the beginning because it's the not so nice looking part. And then I will use rivets for my strap, but of course you could also do this with stitches. If you use rivets like I do, make the markings where your rivets are supposed to be. And this is also personal preference. I make this 1.5 centimeters apart, each rivet being apart 1.5 centimeters. And where I put my slider, I leave 4 centimeters in between, and for the other end I use 4 centimeters in between. So, but you could also put the slider on there first and then make a marking, put the slider off again and repeat, so you know exactly where you want to punch your holes. So on the other end, I make a 4 centimeter wide gap between the rivets and 1.5 centimeters in between each rivet. Punch 4 holes again. And then we will attach the slider first. So thread, see the gap is a little bit bigger, is for the slider. So attach the slider first on the center bar, fold over and close with 2 rivets. Or you can make some stitches here and sew this together if you don't have rivets, or if you prefer this look. I like rivets, I don't know, I like the look. And or maybe you do have the hardware for the ends, strap ends. This looks really nice too. I don't have any more. I need to order some more because I like the look of the metal strap endings very much. So I attach the slider, and then you take the other end from the strap and thread your swivel hook on there. Go back through the slider over the center bar again, and then thread the second swivel hook on the end of the strap, fold over and attach 2 rivets or make your stitches. And that's basically it. When you're done, you're really done. I promise you, there's nothing more you have to do. Of course, you could do the strap at the beginning, but I never do this. And then I think, oh yeah, I'm done, but I'm not actually. So when you're actually really done, attach your strap and have a look at the cutest little crossbody bag that you've just made with your own 2 hands. Applaud yourself and be really proud of what you did. So I really hope you liked and enjoyed sewing this crossbody bag together. I hope we can sew many more pretty bags. So come visit me on Etsy, come visit me on Patreon, and let's make some sewing magic together. See you next time around. Bye bye.